So the first card that we have in the first position is the source of the issue, which is the moon card. So with this, if we look at this bigger picture, this is like, you could say dark night of the soul. I don't feel like it's that per se. It's more or less like a baby dark night of the soul, in the sense that this is a cycle that we've all gone through, where we've had to face yet another shadow aspect of ourselves, right? So we're going through almost like the closing out of this process now, where it's like we're facing the self. So it's more or less like the story I was telling you guys in the last live. It's like going through the last leg of the journey, and at the end of the road, it's like you meet this shadow aspect of the self, and you get to see like, oh, it was me all along type of deal, right? So that's what it is that we're dealing with. I love my moon. Oh, so that's what it is that we're dealing with now. So for the last week or so, everybody feeling kind of off, feeling kind of strange and things of the sort. That's what is intricately related to, because it's been a very like hermit-like kind of time, a need for like, you know, just kind of retreating and not really feeling like engaging so much with people, because during this time there was a need for you to face something of yourself that needs to be let go in order for you to go into a new cycle, right? I saw a shock face. Oh, wow. Oh, that's gangster. Now, our challenge, now this is so funny. The 9 of Cups. That's so funny, because I was thinking about that card before I started the first live. This is all this first live. This is your main challenge to overcome. And it's exactly how I described back then. Like when I talked about back then, I mean, the last live, when I talked about making a step in the direction of your happiness, it's like the challenge now is when you face this aspect of yourself and you see that this aspect of yourself has been that little roach in your life, right? This thing where your intentions were good, but you didn't really see that it was holding you back. The challenge now is to break away from that proverbial crutch and to now stand on my own 2 feet and say, what does happiness look like for me? What does wish fulfillment look like for me? You know, if I were to not include anybody else in that process, like, what's my ideal look like? And not expecting to have all of that in one day, but being ready to take the step in the direction of that. So that's like me with the gym. I look at my trainer and I'm like, she's hot. I want to be hot. It's doable because she used to look like me. So it's like, what do I need to do? I need to cancel this gym membership at this gym I know I don't want to go to. And I need to start a gym membership at the gym I know I want to go to, and take baby steps with not dodging my trainer and actually going. Even if it's just for 5 minutes and I eat a handful of Tootsie Rolls, it's okay, because I did 5 minutes on the elliptical. So it's taking the step in that direction. So that's the biggest challenge. And part of that, for a lot of us, when it comes in reference to others, it's more or less having the courage to leave things behind, you know, even if you don't have closure. So like I said, with my situation, it's like the fact that I actually got to have a physical conversation and have them say something, I say something, and I make my conclusion based on what is discussed by, if this is what's on offer, is this in alignment with my vision of happiness? Even if you're not able to have a physical conversation, it's like the present state that everything in your life sits at this very moment is answer enough. If you know what it is that your 9 of Cups looks like, if you know what emotional contentment, what your wishes being fulfilled, happiness, anything of the sort, if you know what that looks like for you, and it doesn't matter if it's idealistic or not, you can use that as a schematic to compare that to what's presently in your life, or look at your emotions or the patterns in that specific thing that you're engaging in, and allow those to tell you, is this adding to your happiness? So the challenge for some of you is going to be to figure out what that is. For others of you, it's going to be the courage to take a step in that direction. Because it's some people who have everything on the table, like in my situation, and now it's just the choice of, oh God, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away. Why is that song coming up? So that's what you got to know what to do. And then for others of you who don't have that clarity, is knowing that you possess the power to give it to yourself. Because if you don't have a physical person that's giving you, this is what's on the table, then you just look at the pattern. Has this been serving my happiness? Not, I hope if I continue to engage that somehow maybe one day it will. Right now, today, is this what happiness looks like for you? If it's not, it's learning your lesson of this and moving in the direction of what it is that will make you happy, that will fulfill your wishes, right? I'm just checking on what y'all are saying. Okay. So next, we have what to release that's going to assist you in like your physical balance. So like your physical life. So, you know, human body, all that good stuff. Everything is in 3D. Whoa. We have the King of Pentacles. Okay. So for some of you, that's an earth sign person. So that is a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn. So for some of you, oh, I just heard something else. Okay. So for some of you, it is like a romantic partner person that's an earth sign, or it's a person, a romantic person, like partner, boo thing, side piece, whatever, that is very self-focused, is a workaholic, is very money focused, and it's kind of more focused on, it's like the vibe I'm getting is like somebody who is self-centered. Some people, for like, I wouldn't go as far as to say narky reasons, but someone who's very self-centered or self-focused, and that could be for a myriad of different reasons, or someone who's like a workaholic, or somebody who's very fixated on money. But the consistent theme is a person who's very fixated on themselves, or a person that's an earth sign, right? For others of you, is needing to release a father figure that was emotionally unavailable because they were too fixated on themselves or work or success or something along those lines, right? So it's more or less releasing the false narrative that it gave you about yourself because of the choices that this person made. If it's like a parental figure, right? And then even in a romantic sense, it could be just and it could go either way. It could be male or female. Because I mean, for some of you, it could be a mom who just operated a great deal in her masculine energy, you know, just being very fixated on action oriented things like success, money, materialism, superficialities, and things of the sort. So whether it be a parental figure or a romantic partner, it's coming to the realization and understanding that the choices and decisions that they made and how they went about stuff, or the fact that they weren't emotionally engaging with you, that had absolutely nothing to do with you. That's just them. That's their deal. That's their experience. That's what they're here to do. And there's nothing that you could have done or could not have done, because all of us are on autopilot. And I say that lightly, because I mean autopilot in the sense that we're all arrows. It's like we're here on a mission with a target. So not autopilot in the sense of not being awakened. It's just the fact, even when we're awakened, it's like there's a path that we're on. So what we're doing is simply what we're doing, you know? And it's almost like the program that we choose to operate on. And that's just what it's going to be, you know? Until we choose to, and this is old school, take that CD-ROM out, you know, or uninstall that program that we're operating on. But other than that, the reason why this person's actions towards you had nothing to do with you is because that's just the program that they're running on. So you can't make a Macintosh act like a Windows computer. You can't make it act like a PC. You can't make a PC act like a Macintosh because it was programmed to do that. So no matter what you do, you know, you can't change it from being what it is because that's just what it is, right? Now, when it comes to how you release it, we have the Two of Pentacles. So you release this by weighing your options, being the ever-present observer, looking at the situation, finding your center and putting your foot down. Stop trying to balance and figure it out. This goes back to what I said in the first live. It's like, if I would have said this, or maybe if I would have said that, or if I kept that to myself, or maybe if I wouldn't have yelled, if I wouldn't have done this like that, well, what if this and that, and what if? That's the thing I was talking about, that double bind. Should I walk away? But if I walk away, will I create a block? And if I create a block, will that be my fault? Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or if I go? Like, what if I do this or what if I do that? What this could happen. It's choosing to stop. The way that you heal this is simply by, what does my happiness look like? Not ideal. If, you know, if it's a person, it's like, if this person would just realize this, then that's what my happiness would look like. Nope. Has to be something that only revolves around you. You put your foot down and you're able to go into a direction. You silence your emotions and the up and downs by you looking at what it is that I'm really dealing with here right now today. These are my options. Or this is what I've seen up to this point. Does this align with my happiness? No, it doesn't. I need to make my choice to put this down, take this one, and move forward. So that's how that's released in your physical space, right? So now, when we go to what you need to release for your emotional balance and well-being. Oh, wow. Whew. We got the Queen of Wands. Now, I'm hearing this a couple of ways. For some of you, it's emotional abuse that you're doing to yourself. How does one emotionally abuse themselves? By dwelling in the past. So very much like what we're talking about over here in the physical space. Right? It's me looking at those shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And it's a past circumstance or situation that's affecting me presently. Because I can't see my present or my future because all of my energy is fixated on what was. You know, it's just stuck there. You're engaging, you're eating lunch with people, you're talking to people, but you always find yourself going back to staring in your mind's eye at what's happened in a past tense sense. It's still holding on to a hope and a wing and a prayer, not from things that are happening now, not from things that you're experiencing now, but from a past place that you keep alive by continuously visiting it in your mind. By living there in your mind, it keeps provoking those same emotions. It's almost the equivalent of thinking to back to a day that you got dumped. And the record that's on repeat is me getting in my car, driving to the house. I got out of the car. They walked out of the house. They said those words to me. I asked why. They said because. I cried. And it's like, as you're stuck staring off into the distance and you're replaying this, all of that is affecting your emotions. So your energy is being affected by something that doesn't even exist anymore, except for in your memory. Everything you've experienced in your past does not exist anywhere else except for in your memory. Right? And we've talked about this before, amnesia. You get amnesia tomorrow, all of that stuff is gone. You get a clean slate and you're free, delivered. Right? But these things are kept alive because we keep going back into the files and the recesses of our mind to open that file cabinet, pull out the file of this heartbreak on this date, and we look at it and we go back there. Guided visualization helps us in a positive aspect because you can start to manifest things in your reality from what you're visualizing in your mind, because your mind is that freaking powerful, right? So imagine if you're taking all of that energy, going back to something that's dead. That's emotionally abusing yourself, because that's an impossible task, because you can't have reconciliation there, because that's gone. That doesn't exist for anyone else but the person who's remembering it. It's one thing for a thought to come up and to remember, or even if something pops up about that particular thing. But the whole key is understanding your power. You have the power to not minister to it. Just because a thought is suggested to you, an intrusive thought comes in, it's like, oh, remember that time you pulled up to the house, you got out of the car and he came out of the house and he said no, and you were like, why? When that thought reel comes up, you have the power, the authority, and the ability to redirect. But that's the thing that needs to be released. It's the fact that what's manifesting in your present reality, you're manifesting feelings from the past in your present because you're stuck there, right? For others of you, it's a mother figure. It's a mother figure who is also emotionally unavailable because, and I'm seeing a pattern here. It's like what I just described is very similar to what some people's moms did. It was waiting on another person to show up for them, or a pain they experienced, past tense. And because they were so stuck there, and this is another message, sweet mother. Because somebody's mother was stuck there, you as a child were there looking at her, but she wasn't looking at you because she wasn't there. And not in the sense of like mental illness wasn't there, but just like daydreaming, tuned out, washing the dishes, freezing, and staring out of the window. And it's like, mom, what? You know? And because that was the same process of what she was doing, whether it be, a divorce or a dad that left, if it was a single mom, if it was a mom who was even, waiting for someone to leave someone they were with, in her not being emotionally available because she was so caught up in her stuff, right? The resentment of me needing my mom, I need my mom to be there. That's something that has to be released because that's acting as a block in your life, right? The other thing is, and this is for like a small number of people, is me saying this is making someone feel very uneasy. And the reason why it's making you feel uneasy is because spirit is getting you to see that you inadvertently are doing the same thing that your mom did to you, and you're just now realizing it. It makes you feel horrible. Of the fact that it wasn't your intention. It's almost a perception of like looking at what this person's mother did as malice. Like, why was she not there for me? But not making the connection of how even though this person isn't doing it like their mother did it, it's like you're doing it, but in a different way. So hypothetically, it could be a mom who, I don't know, she was a judge and she worked a lot. She was a police officer. She worked a lot. She was never there. She was always thinking about all this other kind of stuff, to where she just was never, she was physically there, but it's like emotionally, she wasn't there, right? Because she was always in another mental space. So now for the person, it could be like a resentment towards the mom, because it's like, you weren't there to nurture and, you know when my exams are, whatever, give me a hug when whatever. And now it might be being unavailable because of a heartbreak or a person that you're waiting to come back. But it's like you don't see that you're doing the same thing your mom did, because I don't work a lot. I'm always home. I'm always doing X, Y, Z. But that's the connection that's supposed to be made, right? But I feel like that's for a real, real, real small number of people. And because I'm going to post this on YouTube, it may not even be somebody here. It may be someone who watches it afterwards, right? But that's what has to be let go in an emotional space. So is the emotional self-abuse, or is the emotional neglect that was experienced at the hand of a female figure, a mother, or that could even be a female partner, right? Because it's a desire for happiness, whether it's a mother figure or it's a relationship partner. The person's intentions were not ill, because they were hoping for happiness. But the thing is they got tripped up with the okie doke, because they were waiting and hoping in hopes of getting their wishes fulfilled, but they let life pass them by, being stuck in the past, hoping that, what was in the past, like I've said before, would meet them in the future. If it did or if it didn't, we'll never know, because they never turned around to step into the future. They let many years pass them by as they remained stuck, frozen in time in the past. And inadvertently, like the opportunity you guys have now, missed out on their opportunity to face that shadow aspect of themselves. So they were their own worst enemy. They kept themselves frozen in time. Things never worked out for them because they never chose to turn around into the present, to step back into alignment with spirit, to manifest their destiny, right? But this, again, is an opportunity that you guys are getting, right? I really feel like this is a huge thing with parental figures and learning from their mistakes, whether it be with you or with their own choices in life, which is heavy. I've all in my chest, it feels heavy. And the fact that it's like a hesitancy that I feel, it reminds me of what happens a lot of times in therapy when, clients, like we get to a point in the therapeutic process when you start to get to the family of origin. I call it the death of the superhero. A lot of people who are adults may not have had what seems to be physically or emotionally neglectful parents, right? Because it's like, my mom was she was a great mom. She was a single mom, worked real hard. It was like 10 of us, but, she did the best that she could do with what she had. It's a defensiveness. If you ever say, but it's like, but did you feel nurtured? I understand that she did what she had to do with what she had. And it's like, but did you feel nurtured though? The place a lot of adults feel with their parents, whether it's a female parent or a male parent, is almost a sense of betrayal, to say that my needs weren't met. And your needs not being met becomes rationalized in the fact of, like, the example, my mom was a single mom. I had 10 other siblings. She did the best that she could. That's not the question I asked you. I asked you if you felt nurtured. Why are you avoiding that question? Why is it that you don't want to say the truth about that? And the truth behind that is the fact that it's a betrayal. For me to say that I felt like my needs weren't met, it's the thought of thinking that saying that your mom or your dad or whoever is a bad parent. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you feel like your needs were not met. A parent could not be a single parent, and a child could still feel that their needs were not met. That's not saying that your parents are horrible, but that's a challenge for a lot of people who didn't have parents who were blatantly abusive or neglectful, right? But it's a need to speak your truth or feeling like I didn't get it, because that ends up becoming that little roach that gets perpetuated in your relationships. Because the person is doing the best that they can. You're supposed to say, this isn't hurting me. I don't feel like I'm being neglected. I don't feel like I'm being emotionally starved or I'm starving in intimacy. I don't say that because they're doing the best that they can, right? So there's a connection with that as well, you know? But the death of the superhero is realizing that our parents are human beings. It took me, I critiqued my parents to the death until I became a mother myself and realized no manual comes with this, and holy God, we're winging it by the seat of our pants, right? I saw them as human beings in that moment. And I was like, dude, they ain't even have Google. They was out here trying to make it. I'm like, my parents, they got married early 20s, you know? And I'm looking at myself and trying to put myself in their shoes. And I'm just like, dude, like, I feel like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like, this is a human life, right? I'm responsible for human life. But I saw myself and my parents in that moment. And that's when any anger, resentment, or anything I had towards them, it went away. Because I was like, dog, y'all literally did the best that y'all could. And y'all ain't have Google. So, bruh, I can't even be mad at you. I have problems. I could just be like, how do you make formula? You know what I'm saying? Now, when it comes in reference to releasing, we have the Three of Wands. And what I hear, this is so interesting. Open up to the sky and be free. It's just the sense of like an epiphany. Like, instead of going back and forth about what wasn't right or what should have been, and it's not anything you would more or less like force yourself to come into, it's like it's going to be a connection like what I just described that would happen. It's like when I'm a new mom and I'm like, oh, what's happening? What is colic? What is this, right? Why won't he latch, right? I felt like a horrible mother because my kid wouldn't latch. But anyway, but it's that connection I made of like, wow, they're humans. Just like me. I'm not perfect. They're not perfect. But I have full power and control of what I choose to do with my rearing. Right? Because even if, you know, and I say this like, if you had an experience, like a negative experience with your parents, like what we talked about before with closure, if a person tells you, oh, I'm sorry, I really screwed up, does that undo the fact that you felt neglected? It doesn't. It validates it. It's validating, saying, yeah, you experienced this and I agree. I was at the hand of it. But what are you going to do with the wounding that's left there? Because that validation isn't going to take that wounding away. That's still your responsibility to cultivate that, to reform that, to integrate that into your narrative. What does it say about you? You know? At one point in time, as you guys all know, I was sexually abused when I was younger. And I, for a long time, allowed that to be my identity. That's who I was, you know? But now, and it sounds really morbid, so I'm warning you now, it's like I celebrate my pains, because me being in the depths of self-hatred, to come to a place where it's like, oh my God, I don't hate myself anymore. What the freaking crap? Means that I can encounter people every day who are in the trenches of hating themselves. And I can say, dude, guess what? I used to hate myself, but it's possible to not hate yourself. I'm not joking. This is not a joke. I'm not kidding. It is not a ploy. It is possible. I am telling you, I have been there, sir and or madam, right? It gives me a sense of empathy for others, even if I haven't firsthand experienced their pain, because I know what pain is like, you know? I know what loss and darkness is like. And because I know what it's like to be in those trenches, it helps me to empathize with others, you know? But that's a choice I had to make. I didn't go through what I went through and go to therapy, tell my therapist what was going on. She did some magic juju, and suddenly I was like, you know what? Love myself. Woo woo. It's not like that. Even with seeing a therapist, there's a level of work that we have to do within the self. Even after receiving apologies, sorries, I didn't mean it, I didn't know, I had no idea. The only person who can cultivate that wounding is us. That is our own responsibility. No, it's not fair. No, it's not right, but it requires an objective, higher perspective on things in the sense of knowing that everything is always working out for you. And being a person who was traumatized, I know that's hard as heck to hear. Because how the heck, like I told my therapist, how was this in my highest good? You explain to me right now how me being abused as a child was in my highest good. Tell me, right? But now looking back, I see it. Not in the sense of saying that abuse is okay, but it's the fact that human beings have free will, and a lot of us make really shitty choices that hurt people. Some of us make really shitty choices that could potentially damage a person for a lifetime. Some things that some people don't ever come back from. But the thing is that you have power in all of that to see how a person imposed their dysfunction, their untruths on you, how another person gave you their narrative. It's you identifying that, realizing that's not who I am, removing that as your identity, mask off, and understanding that it's not who you are. It's something that you experienced. That does not change who and what you are. It's an experience. It's not who I am. Princess experienced those things. It's not who I am, though. And so the same with you, right? So it's going to be something similar to that that's going to help you release that. And I feel like for each one of you, it's going to be something different, but it's going to be something that's coming from the voice of spirit that's going to awaken inside of you where you're going to be like, got you, you know? And because all of us are so different and our experiences are, it's going to be different for each one of you, but it's going to be undeniable nonetheless. And you're going to feel a burden lifted off of your shoulders. It's almost going to be like a, wow, that's true. Never looked at it like that. That's great, right? Now, our next card, it is what you need to release for your spiritual balance and well-being. We have the Ace of Swords. The thing that needs to be released here is truth. Insert quotations. What I spoke about up here, those false narratives that have been imposed on you, the false narratives that you've been conditioned into believing, the limitations, the glass ceilings in your life, the things that you know now or knew last week or last month or 10 years ago, those things you knew at one point in time to be the absolute truth that you now know was nowhere near the truth at all, right? Not even intricately related. Whatever that false narrative is releasing those. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying in the last video as well. When you feel certain emotions and you think certain things, to stop and ask yourself, what is the vibration of this thought that my mind is suggesting to me? The fact that this person said something to me and now I'm overcome, with guilt. I'm dwelling in the past and I'm overcome with guilt. Would spirit do that to me? Would spirit orient and fixate my mind on a past situation that both I and spirit know cannot be changed because the past can't be changed, and overwhelm me with shame and guilt for a situation that can't be vindicated, because we can't vindicate the past because the past no longer exists? Or would a past experience be brought up in the present, where I make a connection in this moment of, wow, that's interesting. Wow, that's just like that. Thus bringing the past into the present to heal it. I get it now. Now I feel good. I feel like a weight's been lifted. I feel more optimistic. Which one of those align with high vibrational and low vibrational energies? A part of this waking up process is in a very manual way, in the sense of you taking authority and dominion over your own mind. You are not required to think or minister to every single thing that's suggested to you. I've said to y'all before, if you think of yourself as a walking antenna, if you think of emotions as energies, energy in motion, if you think of thoughts like frequencies, radio stations, if you know that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, if you know that thoughts are things, meaning that because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, all it does is transfer into another form, meaning everything I think is a frequency that is in my mind that transfers. Not one that I created, but one that has been thought by someone since the beginning of time has thought before. Nothing is new under the sun. Now, when I think this and I release it, that thought can come to someone else. That's the reason why you see synchronicities like on YouTube, why several readers can somehow be saying very similar things. It's a frequency. We caught a vibe and it was like, that's interesting. Let me pull out my cards. We start saying things. Different cards, very similar messages, right? It's because we caught a vibe. We caught a frequency, you know? When you're on a roll and you just channeling and things, it's like you tune into a radio station and you're speaking what it is that you're hearing on that frequency, right? So this is something that's constantly in and out with all of us. We're exchanging those thoughts and that energy, right? So knowing that your thoughts aren't necessarily your thoughts, and if they're not adding to you, again, if they're not adding to this, then what are you thinking them for? You know? Only give your time and your energy. Look at your body, your thought space, your emotional space as sacred space. Only things that are of a higher vibrational nature shall dwell here, nothing else. That's something that's being learned in a physical sense. Seeing your sacredness as a being. A lot of us are starting to get to a point where if someone doesn't align with that, you just can't be in my space, bro. Can't fool with you. And as friends, as jobs, a lot of different things. But it's easy for us to cut things, people off. It's easy for us to eat healthy, you know. It's easy for us to cut out like, oh, no more sodas or no more weed, no more cigarettes, no more whatever. We can cut out a lot of stuff, but we can't cut out the emotional abuse that we put on ourselves, the thought, mental abuse we put on ourselves, the physical abuse that we put onto ourselves in the sense of neglecting our bodies for whatever reason, eating too much, eating too little, working out too much, not working out enough, you know. It's coming into a place of honoring the self, you know, and that's the sacred journey that all of us are on with the moon card. It's going down this path in this corridor to one's innermost self, meeting them. And the other saying, I've been waiting for you. You know, you were all out here in the world doing all this other kind of stuff. And I was just here like, they're coming. I know it. They're coming. They're taking kind of long, but they're coming. Right? Like they're coming, right? Are they? Yeah, I'm going to be optimistic. They're coming. You're coming into yourself. Really what it is. And this can even go any deeper to see that a lot of what it is that you've experienced up to this point, you start to see the mirror effect in the sense that a lot of what you've been experiencing external is now being mirrored to how you've been doing that to yourself internally. So release these false truths. How do you do that? Six of Pentacles. How do you release that? Taking your power, standing in your authority, cultivating balance in your life. Only feed what feeds into you. So like we just discussed with our thought space. If this isn't adding to me and it's taking away, I don't have to minister to it. That's not a requirement. Thought, just because you're here, I don't have to think you, especially if you're taking me back to the past of all places, right? Is you standing in that position of authority and balance. It's you evening yourself out, right? It's you being the one who gets to decide who gets your energy, how, when, and where. It's you getting to decide what you think, how you think it, when you think it. You know? It's understanding that you're Big Daddy Megabucks, right? And each one of these, and I'm so sorry, little peasant people, but it's like I almost look at them as like low vibrational frequencies, right? And it's like every time they pass by, you're like, okay, I see you, good day. See you here, good day. See you, good day. We're not doing this. Not doing it, you know? Because that comes into your place of acknowledgement. Your healing comes in the awareness and acknowledging this is truth. You giving them that little coin is like, I see you here, inner demon. Be on your way. I acknowledge you're here. Yes, I do have an issue with this. Get it. I need to accept that, but you're not who I am. Be on your way, you know? Now, our next card is what you need to make room for. This is what you need to make room for. It's the Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups. Now, how beautiful is this? I feel like I just walked you guys through the process of the metaphorical cleaning of house. It's the metaphorical spring cleaning. Spirit is like, this is what I've been trying to tell them all along, but yeah, we got to go step by step. That's all right. This is like a how to clean my house checklist on Pinterest. That's what this is right now. But because you've cleared all of the clutter, right? All of the things that were sitting there and collecting dust, because all of the space has been cleared, now you have set the stage, the place. You've made room in your life for this to now come in, right? This is a clear definition of what it looks like to manifest in a very practical way. It's not thinking, Ace of Cups, Ace of Cups, Ace of Cups, Ace of Cups. Meditate, stare at the Ace of Cups, Ace of Cups. Yes, offer. That's not how you do it. Very practical, very step by step, right? A little bit of work, not too much, no heavy lifting. It's a little decision making, exerting my authority a little bit. You do that, you done just made room for what it is that you've been trying to get for the longest, right? Now, how? Knight of Swords. I don't think Spirit told me this. Pretty sure it was my brain. But the first thing I heard was, I ain't with the shits. I ain't got time. You coming at me with that bullshit? Knight of Swords. Straight up. Anything that comes into my life that becomes stagnant, anything that comes into my life that's now taking up space, it's cutting it out in the beginning, nipping it in the bud, right? That's because it doesn't align with this. If you don't align with this, then we're not fooling with it, because we've done this. No longer will I constantly go back and forth, guessing and second guessing and reanalyzing myself, not trusting my judgment, not trusting myself. No longer will I stay stuck in patterns about things that I can't change. No longer will I forget that I'm not co-creating with spirit. No longer will I forget that everything that I need to know will show up when I need to know it. I am not here by myself, even if it ever seems that way. The person, or being rather, that created me and all that is always by my side, even when it doesn't seem like it, right? Whenever I need to know something, I'll know it. When it's time for me to heal something, I'll heal it. There is nothing that can be missed. There's nothing that any transit, any open portal, or anything of the sort, you can't miss out on your healing. Because of an earthly time frame, when you're talking about the person who created all that is, you know, spirit has to work within time for things to manifest, absolutely. But if a person is like, my date of deliverance is today, you know, spirit ain't gonna be like, nope, we need to wait on the next Mercury retrograde. I'm sorry, you had that chance a couple of months ago. No, that's not how it works. Don't ever fear that you're not getting the lesson, right? Because something I realized, and this is a vision I got when I got my Reiki 1 certification eons ago. Never understood the vision until recently. Spirit showed me standing at the top of the world and walking around it, and then turning backwards, and I'm walking backwards around the world. I understood just within the last couple of days that means that you never repeat cycles. No one ever repeats cycles the same way, because whether you're aware of it or not, you can, when you go through something once, it's organic. Second time, you're going through it again, but you now possess wisdom that you didn't have the first time. So this isn't new to you. So next time around, you're not really going through the same thing because you have tools and an arsenal you didn't have the first time around. So now this is more or less mastery. Is looking at it like you started school in kindergarten. For y'all younger people, y'all have something called pre-kindergarten. We didn't have that back in the day, but anyway. But you start school in kindergarten or pre-K, and every year you're going through a grade. You know, you're in elementary school, but if you didn't fail a particular grade, you're doing the same thing on a different level. This doesn't mean you're repeating the same cycle per se. You're in a cycle of your education, right? But each year it's different because it's different content. But the cycle is in the fact that you're in school, right? It's a different grade, different content, a little harder than before. But it's the same way with every cycle you go through. So never be afraid of that. You know what I'm saying? Never be afraid of thinking that you're stuck in some primordial loop that you won't ever get out of unless you get this epiphany that you're constantly searching for, and as if it's like hiding from you, like behind the bush, you know? So it's you making the decision when something does not align with you. If something doesn't align with high vibration, is you instantly cutting it out, is no longer ministering to it, just like you're no longer doing with false truths or your thoughts, you know, feelings that are suggested to you, past situations, circumstances, past hurts. Is cutting that out too. And that's for going towards the future when people come in, because it's guarding this. The 10 exists in every ace. This means you're getting an opportunity to cultivate the 10 of Cups. It's not something that's just given, it's something that's cultivated. I'm putting work in the same way that I put work in to get my 10 of Wands, the same way that I put work in to get my 10 of Swords. It's now you choosing to come over to the light side and to learn how to cultivate good things in your life. And it's going to require you to stand up for yourself. It's going to require you to be that OG person standing in their power, and I ain't got time for your bullshit. What do you want and what you here for? But that's the reading, guys.